explain
Hold on. We're going to.
how everything comes on and comes off.
Yeah,
So
we're going to. Okay, this is, we're here with Mark McLane from
the greenhouse company.
the Greenhouse Company, and we're here at Hygge Farms here in Hilliard Court on Knight Road. And there is a brand new greenhouse that we've created here. So Mark's going to talk to us a little bit about how this greenhouse works and a little about the maintenance of the greenhouse. So Mark, let's go ahead.
So the first thing is, as the greenhouse stage is on, when you first walk in, like on a day like today, it's quite cool outside. You'll see the two horizontal airflow fans inside the house, which circulate the air in a circular pattern, will be on. We've cut them off now just to cut back on some of the noise, but those will be on first. And they serve two purposes. Dry the air out.
Mark, let me ask you, do we have to manually turn those fans on, or do they come on?
They'll be on. They run all the time until that evaporative cooler comes on. They're on constantly in the design center.
Okay.
So that'll be the first thing.
And why are these fans on all the time? What's the purpose of that? How does that help the green?
Okay. Twofold. One, it helps with your heat stratification. You get a more even temperature grade from top to bottom when these are on, because we set up a circular pattern in the house. The other benefit is it dries the air out in the greenhouse. Contrary to what a lot of people believe, a real moist greenhouse will breed disease and algae and everything else. So drying the air out is very beneficial for plants as well. So that's twofold. They were primarily designed to keep the heat from stratifying. Before, you used to see these polytubes down in the house, and they would pump heat from the top to the bottom. Okay. And it actually costs more.
Okay.
So that's the primary reason.
So stratification of the air, and then also you want to dry the air out. And how is that beneficial to the plants?
Botrytis is something very common in tomatoes. If the plants don't get a chance to dry out the root before you water them, if they're constantly wet, you'll see botrytis growing. That's a very common plant disease. Moving the air and having open benches under them helps that.
So for tomato plants, because we'll be looking to grow tomato plants and strawberries and raspberries and things like that. So
all beneficial.
All very beneficial. Okay, very good. Yeah. And so Mark, tell us a little bit, your greenhouse company's been in business for how long?
Since 1978. We were called Jagerland, and when the original owner died, his wife bought the company, and it calls it the Greenhouse Company, division of Jagerland. We're all the same people, same plant, same building, same machine.
Okay, and you're located up in South Carolina?
Yep. Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, all right, that's go Gamecocks.
Yes.
I got my son.
Graduated.
My son's a recent graduate from up at that school.
Awesome.
Very good.
Good school.
All righty, let's go and what do you want to talk about next? You're going to show me.
All right, so I want to tell you how the stages come on, so you'll know when you walk in what's going on. The first stage, the neutral stage is going to be the horizontal airflow fans that we were just discussing will be on.
Okay.
As it warms up the first stage, and we have this system already set for temperature stages, and we have a auto off and on system, and this helps you problem solve if you ever have any problems. You can cut something on.
So let's start over here. So tell me, what is this?
That is the main setting. All of the stages are set through this module for these independent ones, and it's a level down system. We have it set now for the heat to come on at 65. First stage of cooling will come on at 70. So to change that, I've got a booklet over there, and you have to change the stages incrementally. So there has to be a separation between each stage. So as it is right now, we have it set for the most common growing conditions that people have used from schools to universities over the years. This seems to cover pretty much everything, unless you've got a really specialized plant.
Okay, so how often do we need to come in here and make changes to this, or do we just?
Honestly, you should never, unless you've got some type of plant that's going to need a lot warmer or cooler in the winter.
Okay, so that is pretty much automatic. So
it is, very much.
Shouldn't really be messing with that too much. And then if we did have to make modifications, then what is the proper protocol to proceed? Should we call you? Is there
for the first time, call us and ask for Jack Knowles. He's the one that designed and wired this, and he can easily walk the person that wants to change this through it to make sure it's not overlapping stages.
So generally speaking, though, that the people that are here on the ground running the greenhouse Make it a lockbox.
Yes.
There you go. So
That's the common call we get. Someone will walk in here and start messing with this one and it throws the stages out.
okay.
And we have opposing equipment like heaters and fans running at the same time.
Okay. So
Very common, so I would lock it.
go ahead and lock that. And is that easy to lock again?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. You got some keys. All right. All right. We'll try to make sure that's locked. And so basically, don't touch the settings in this box. The greenhouse is ready to run.
Right.
Okay, all right, so what's next? Let's go on.
So the flow of the greenhouse, how this controls is the fans are always on unless the heater is, unless the cooler is on. The first stage of cooling with the exhaust fans, it'll cut on this fan, will cut on the small shutter up top over the evaporator.
Hold on, let's go ahead, swing around here. So you're looking at the small shutter. This is the one with the
Yes.
laser at the top?
Yep, at the top.
Okay, all right, so okay, all right.
That will open on the first stage of cooling. And it will run until it satisfies the temperature that's set. As it cools off, it'll shut off and go back into a neutral setting where the fans are running. If it got cold enough, the heater would enter to come on in the stage as well without the fan.
Okay, so that heater would then come on. So we are in the process of getting the gas delivered to turn that on, so.
I checked it, it's sending a signal that cuts the exhaust fan on, so it should be good to go as soon as you get gas.
Okay. Very good.
The second stage of cooling, the other fan will cut on, that shutter will close, and I'll show you outside in a minute, there is a vent that covers that area of the cooler, we call it a reverse vent. It'll open.
Okay.
So we're forcing more air through the system. As it warms up more, if it hasn't met the requirements for the temperature setting, the next thing will happen is the pump in the reservoir will come on and circulate water through the cooling pad. And that should drop it another 5 or 6, maybe 7 degrees, depending on the relative humidity outside.
So when it's 100 degrees outside, what happens?
Depends on the relative humidity. You may see, at this end of the house down there, you may see 80 degrees, where we don't have shake off, it may be 90, 95 degrees, depending.
Is that harmful for the plants?
Depends on what they are. With tomatoes and things like that, that's fine.
Vegetables? Mostly vegetables in here.
Yeah, it depends on what it is. Lettuce likes it a little cooler and a little darker. You could put the lettuce down there
Okay.
to work better. So as things cool off,
So the lettuce plant should be down where the shade is.
yes,
Okay, and then what about raspberries and blueberries? Is this a
they
good
typically
setting?
like full sun. I would try them down here first.
So, is this a good setting to grow those in?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we've seen that happen before, I guess.
Oh yeah, anytime.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So with the stages, they'll shut down in the opposite order. And it's fully automatic once we put everything on the auto mode. It's gonna run year round without any changes.
Okay, so what kind of maintenance or
Okay.
things we should be on the lookout for?
So I will show you this. I've shown you guys here. These, we've done away with one of the maintenance issues, which used to be the belts and the fans.
Okay.
We now have an automatic belt tightener on this mechanism here, so it keeps perfect tension on the belts.
So what's the mechanism that tightens it?
This hinge and the weight of the motor.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Works wonders. It keeps perfect tension on it. So there's really no maintenance other than, a few years, just keep your eye on the belts. When they start fraying, it'll be time to change them.
Okay. All right. All right, what's next, Mark?
Let's go outside. If you don't mind, I'm gonna cut this on so
Sure.
the vent opening. Excuse me, that's the first stage. That's the first stage. As it warms up, the second one will come on.
Okay.
I got it on.
Come on out.
We didn't put any fans off on that break, did we? Okay. Just so that, if you would put those back on. Feel the air coming. called the Versa vent, and it works in tandem with the evaporative cooling and the second stage of cooling. As it calls for, like it is right now, the second stage of cooling, the vent has opened up. The shutter up top is closed, as it should, and this is open. So the system, as it cools off, it's just a rack and pinion system. It's going to close itself. Now, the motor is this unit right here, there's two. And there are set limits up here, and I've shown you gentlemen here how to set the limits.
Okay.
And we've got to fine tune it.
Well, why don't you walk us through that, because we need to...
Okay, we'll need to take the cover back off.
Oh, we got to take the cover off, so well, where are the limits set?
There's two holes, one there and one there.
Okay.
And it's got a plus and a negative arrow to open it.
Right.
It's plus. On the other one, to close it, will be a plus. Opposite it, open. But they're set. You really, they don't, the limits don't change. They should be fine. Unless something goes wrong with the motor, they should never have to touch the limits again.
So before we touch that, we should probably call you.
You could, yes, absolutely. We're always at the phone.
To make sure that we get it.
There's a couple things I've got my guys are going to fix. These brackets should be perfectly perpendicular to this drive, and they're not. They're leaning a little bit. So I'm going to have them come back up here, set them all perpendicular. It's turning fine, but over time it will wear on that motor.
Okay.
And by the way, you have a 2-year warranty on the work and the equipment here, so if there's an issue.
Okay.
All
right.
I am going to get them to adjust the chain on the shutter up there. I didn't like it. It was a little uneven as it opened.
Yeah.
And just by moving the chain one link in the other direction should fix it.
Okay.
So this is pretty much maintenance free. It should operate itself. Now I will say one thing. Inside, and I can show you the panel, it's near the control panel, there is a unit that controls this. It's got a manual switch and it has a open and close switch. Once it gets hot, where we're not going to get cool nights, open this vent up and put it in manual mode, open it up and leave it. There's no need for this to cycle all day and all night.
So when it's going to get hot,
Leave it open.
put it in manual mode, and then leave it open.
Yes, and leave it in manual
So
mode.
in terms of hot, what temperature would you say is hot?
If it's going to get below 50 degrees at night, I would put it in the auto mode. Past that, this house heats up and holds heat so well, you really don't need to cycle. It'll just save you wear and tear.
So put it in manual mode and then open it up. Once it gets past what temperature? 85, 90?
During the day, 75 consistently is plenty. Unless your grower, whoever's growing this crop, does not like the temperature at nighttime and they want to shut it, that's fine. Once they get past that threshold where that nighttime temperature is acceptable to the plants, put it in manual and open it and leave it open until the fall.
Okay. So probably during the spring and summer.
Yeah.
Here in Florida.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Good. Very good.
And if you're gonna, are you editing this?
Huh?
You gonna edit this?
No.
Okay. Let's stop for a second. Let me go show you this box so it ties in with this.
Okay. All right. And this is all operational now, the water?
Yep.
I'm
I'm happy with the install, other than a couple of the fine-tuning areas that they seem to have put out. I'm gonna make them Kentucky.
So we're ready to start growing in here.
So,
Okay, all right, we're back to Mark.
this is my first event control.
This is the first event.
Control, the event that we looked at outside.
First event is back here with the very back.
The outside
The
wall.
honeycomb.
That's cool. The outside wall.
Okay.
It has a manual and all this switch here, and an open and close. This time of year, it needs to be an auto, which it is. So the control is going to take control of it and open and close it as temperature requires.
Okay.
As it warms up, where you get a agreeable low temperature at night, you can set this in manual mode and open the vent up and leave it open until it starts getting cold.
And so, what's the honeycomb for?
All right, that's we call it Carolina cooler. It's a evaporative cooling system.
What?
An evaporative cooling.
Okay, here on the cooler. Is that something you guys are doing?
We took the evaporative cooling system and designed our own way electric system they had. This is a 6-inch medium. It's been a workhorse since about 1981. Works well. So what happened?
Do you have to replace this at any time?
Probably about 8 years.
About 8 years.
Yeah.
And then this is something that we would contract the greenhouse company for, and you guys would either change it for us, or can we do that?
It's easy to do yourself if you want.
That's something that you can change yourself right here at the facility.
So this system is the system that requires the most attention. Because you've got water flowing, you have potential buildup of algae on the pads. This reservoir, is, by the way, the water should be down here. I know what they've done here. We're going to fix this.
Okay.
So this supplies the water.
Okay, so what is that? Why is the water so high?
We have a pressure regulator that goes into the float valve. They've over-tightened the pressure regulator. So what happened, they set it up, everything was fine, but there was just enough water coming out before the float valve, and overnight, it fills up. It should be completely shut off. Over-tightened. This happened to me 2 weeks ago.
So we're gonna try to get that fixed.
Yes, they are definitely.
Okay.
And this is the plug here goes into this dedicated outlet, which goes back to the controller. And I've got it unplugged right now.
Alright, what does that device do?
So that sends the signal to the pump set on.
Okay.
It's got somewhere in here is electronic device that cuts off the flow of. I'm so sorry. It's a check valve. Basically,
So tell us about these
so
valves.
the water comes out of the pump, it comes up through this valve, and it runs ahead of it on the top. So we have several items of maintenance. I tightened it down, I showed these. There is a valve with the filter in here. This is a Y string.
Yeah, look at that. So there's gonna be a valve and a filter in there?
Yeah, this controls the flow, the amount of water going to the pad. And this has a metal filter in it that prevents dirt and debris from getting up into the system.
So how often should that be cleaned or maintained?
For the first month or so of operation when you're using this, I would check this every couple of days just to make sure, because these pads are made with paper and the fiber fluffs off and then it's hard.
Okay, so you're gonna need a sea ring.
It probably doesn't need to be that tight, it's kind of over in it.
Okay,
So this is a filter.
alright.
So you'll look in there and there'll be paper debris in there and just rinse it underwater, unclog it, put it back in.
Okay.
This will be the first day. If for some reason this thing overheats, there's a lot of debris in the line where the pump picked it up, the pump has a thermal overload, it'll shut it off, and once it cools down, the pump will come back on. 99% of the time, this is clogged. So for the first month, I would check this fairly regular. Of course, with the water off, I'm gonna finger tight this thing.
Okay. And then, do you ever have to rate control the amount of water going into the system?
Yes, good question. Right now, I'm going to show you completely off. That's completely off.
Okay.
Where you'll probably end up is one turn, 1.5. So when the pump comes on, it'll take it 10-15 minutes to wet this material out. After the first hour, if you see a dry streak anywhere in here, turn this valve open a little more. You don't want it wide open because it sends more water than it needs and it'll start falling over the sides.
Okay.
My
So
guess is
if water's falling over the sides, that's problematic.
yeah, start turning this valve down.
Start backing it off.
The goal is to have the media wetted, but not so much that the water's coming off.
Okay. All right. Very good. And then over here, I notice we've got some.
This is a solenoid for the irrigation system, and there's a filter inside of this one as well.
What's that for?
That's just to keep trash from getting into your lines. Those generally after you've run it the first time, that's it. It's not like this system. There's nothing but whatever's coming, the water source is providing is in there. So
Right.
as long
And
as
then,
that's
is there
clean.
any maintenance mark on these systems that?
Not really.
Okay. And then I noticed we've got some lines. We've got
We call these MODs, multi-outlet drippers. And basically they're designed for pots.
okay.
For one in each pot
Is
and
that
they're
are
dripping.
the pots that we have here?
Yeah.
Suitable pots?
Absolutely.
Or kind of
It goes right in the soil. It'll just stick in the soil.
And so if you had a bigger pot, a 3-gallon pot, would you still put 1 or 2?
Still use one, you would just increase the amount of time that you have your system on here.
So, but that means you have to increase the amount of time for all pots.
Yes.
So,
You have two zones in this system, this side and that side.
okay.
Now, you could,
So they could have different flow rates.
yes,
So you could have a 3-gallon pot on this side and 1-gallon pot on that
yes.
side.
Now, you could also, you've got, I believe that is an 8-zone controller, you're only using 2. You can get more solenoids, you can put them in line down here if you want the last half of that system to be on a different zone, running more or less water, you can do that.
Okay. So what kind of plants could you grow in a 1-gallon pot like that?
Strawberries, tomatoes, wild peppers.
So they would all flourish in that size of pot. So is that what you recommend, or is it the bigger pot?
I would talk to one of the growers about that. Depending on what type of tomato it is, some of them we get the I think the 7-gallon, 5-gallon pots for large, but they're trellising their systems.
Yeah.
On a bench top like that, that's probably fine.
Okay. So should you be trellising in here? Is that something?
You could. It depends on what type of tomato it is. You absolutely could.
Okay. And then for strawberry plants, this would hold 1 or 2. What do you think?
Be one, but the strawberries, that's something you could also trellis. You could, and they make specific pots for strawberries that contain from these cross presses.
Really?
So they're kind of self-contained, so when you walk in, you just see a large bush of plants, you can see the pots and the strawberries, and then they take up
how
a
would
small
you get,
space.
how would you get one of these?
Okay, you have extra line, you can run a line off of it.
Like
You
run a
can one of
line
these.
up to the strawberry plants? You could have them up here on the,
Yeah. And I noticed there were a couple of rails left over. You can put those rails on top of these cross braces if you want, or we can provide hanging basket rails. This house is designed to hold a lot of weight, a lot of plants hanging.
Okay.
So that's something to look for down the road. And you could also, there's another way to do this system for irrigation, depending on what you're growing. If you've got a table full of flats, these won't be practical. If you're starting a lot of seed, you typically want a mist system to cover a large area. And that's something we would hang up higher. It comes down from the main line. This table will be up about this high and cover a certain amount of area, depending on what we're trying to cover. We set the edge. And that will cover it. The only downside to that is the greenhouse will require more maintenance on the floor, because the floor is going to get
Well,
constantly wet with mist.
yeah, okay. So that just means wiping it up or getting the water out,
Basically.
squeegee.
One thing I want to show you about the cord. So this system, this is a header pipe that runs along the length of this.
Okay.
And every so often there's a hole in it. The water shoots up from the top of this and falls down on this pad. As this system gets older, you might start seeing continuous dry streaks. And more than likely, it's one of the holes that's got clogged up with algae and debris. Two ways to look at this. First is this valve down here opens up with the pump on. Now we'll put it down right here and connect the garden hose to it from the outside. Open this up and it'll flush all the debris out of the top.
So you put a garden hose up here.
Yeah. Just you put a PVC line, go 3/4 inch length, makes it easy. You run it out of the house. So you got flood drain. But open it up and drain the system.
So where would you get it out on that?
No, it'll come out on this end.
How would you get it out? Get it out on that?
Yeah. What's going to open it out?
You would want to connect, something that you want to connect.
I would put an elbow there, 90-degree elbow, and come down and put a 3/4 inch fitting that you can put a garden hose on. So it's not always there. When you need to connect right away, we'll run it out from the building and bring it outside. The other thing, let me show you down here. You start seeing these dry spots and that doesn't alleviate the problem. The top comes off. You can see the header pipe up top.
Oh, okay.
Take a paper clip, poke the hole, the green will come out.
Okay. Now kind of get it. So you want to make sure it's a uniform way. The honeycomb is uniformly moist, has moisture in it. It's a way to keep it cool. Okay, very good. So let's talk a little bit about the irrigation system. So we have two different zones right now. And so we can set the zone on that side for bigger pots, over here smaller pots, and then if we were to put some baskets up, then we could actually use the same drip system, put those up top on the trellises as well, right?
Use the same line, but we can put this head.
Put this head on. So is that something that you guys would need to come back and do for us? Or is that something
No, we can do that. It's on, you guys feel like that. Pretty simple. Yeah.
pretty simple? So what would you do? Just take this top off here and then place it.
Yeah, we would run, we've got enough line over there still, we would run, depending on how many zones we wanted, run a line down the length of the house. And typically from this one, we hang it every 2 feet. But really it's designed around covering the pitches. So if you're gonna go flat, that's when you need to start.
We're doing that. We're just gonna be growing vegetables or producing vegetables for our facilities, as well as for our employees.
I think right now the way you have it set up is fine.
Okay.
Trying to simplify, basically start up with it, you need more flexibility out of the system. That's it.
Okay. Okay, Mark, is there anything else that we need to be aware of as we are getting ready to start greenhouse operations or maintaining the greenhouse?
No, really, it's just periodically checking, making sure everything's running like it should.
So how often would you say somebody needs to be in the greenhouse, monitoring the systems and the plants? Or is it fairly automated to the point that you don't need somebody here?
It's automated, but anytime you have a storm, you need to come back and make sure something has tripped break.
You said once a week, twice a week?
I'd say twice a week.